This is Resolute and the Resolute Leadership Podcast. I'm Vince Miller, your founder and host. And today we are looking at the topic of delegation and trust. Welcome back to the program. If this is your very first time tuning in, well, thank you for joining us. Our mission at Resolute is to disciple and develop men to lead. So if you're looking for content for your men's group or men's ministry even, then you need to go to our website today at beresolute.org. We have a number of great tools for men who are leading others, including some new small group series that we know that you would love. You've got to check out the 9 attributes of a man. It's totally worth your time. You guys will love it. You'll love it. You'll grow as a man of God in a new and unique way by following the model of Jesus Christ. But now, gentlemen, let's dive in. Well, today it's my great pleasure to introduce to you again Bill Derrick, president of Derrick Building Solutions. It's interesting that their business started in 1967 when his dad created his first proposal for a remodeling project out of his farmhouse to today this big company that's providing custom home solutions and commercial building solutions to people all over the upper Midwest. I'm excited to have Bill here for a number of reasons, not only because he's a great man of God, because he's a great leader. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vince. I'm very glad to be here.
So, today we're talking about, delegating and entrusting work to other people. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are probably challenged by the ultimate micromanaging manager, right? You've probably been in those situations yourself, maybe in your own life. But I think a lot of people in this world feel oppressed by that. They feel enslaved to a master, really, and they don't feel like they have freedom. Yet I know that you're one of those guys that gives freedom to people, to entrust to them certain projects, certain things that you want them to manage, whatever it might be, and you're a very entrusting person. So describe to us, Bill, how you do that as a leader. How do you build an environment or a culture of trust and delegation at Derrick Builders?
Well, Vince, for me, it starts with the fact that we have a family business. It's a small business, probably larger than a lot of small businesses, but right. It's a family-owned business. And as such, we also feel that our employees are part of the family. And you have to always be asking, how would I treat my own family when dealing with your employees? In my world, the way I look at things is I like to put in place processes that say, this is the Derrick built way of doing things. This is the process we follow, not to bind an employee or a team member, but to kind of give them the opportunity then to use those processes and their own creativity to meet the goals that we set for them every year, every 5 years. And as long as we're meeting our goals and they're happy and they feel like they have the freedom to do their thing, kind of like as a project manager, having the freedom to feel like, wow, I'm kind of running my own company here, this right. Project by project.
Yeah.
And allow them the freedom to do that and trust that they'll do the right thing. Just because my last name is Derrick doesn't make me necessarily the only expert in the office.
Right.
And so therefore, give them the opportunity and trust them.
Yeah.
To do what they need to do.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then is that if you're really going to create an environment of trust and delegation and empowerment, right, that you are going to need to kind of create the framework within which people can run, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And you have kind of the Derrick way, so to speak.
We call it Derrick Built.
You call it Derrick Built. Okay, great. And I've seen that on your website. That's good to understand that connection now. So you call it Derrick Built, and there's this Derrick Built way, right? Mm-hmm. And when an employee steps into that, they discover the Derrick Built way, but customers also understand probably the Derrick Built way, and it gives them a sandbox to play in, right? Mm-hmm. It's a safe place to play. They can play in the sandbox with a lot of, and you use the word creative freedom even. So you allow people to create, to have some freedom to design in some unique ways as long as it matches with the Derrick built way. Is that right?
Yes.
So what about when people draw outside the lines? What does that look like for you? So you have an employee that draws outside the lines. How do you respond to that?
Yes, and that does happen.
Right.
And I kind of start by telling our team members that, hey, look, you want to start to go outside the boundaries a little bit, maybe test a different way of doing things. That's fine. But if you don't meet expectations, then you're going to be drawn back in.
Right.
And I think the most important thing when that happens is I don't attack the person.
Okay.
I know how I'd want to be treated.
Right.
And quite frankly, maybe one of my weaknesses is I don't like it when someone approaches me and starts to feel like, telling me I'm not doing a good job.
Right.
I get defensive.
Right.
I assume other people tend to act the same way.
Yeah.
And so I think it's better off approaching them with, let's look at the process.
Yeah.
Where did we go wrong with the process? Right. What can we do to better the process? Maybe there was a misunderstanding on how to do things. Maybe there's something going on in their personal life.
Right.
That is creating a situation that's now allowing them to perform the way we expect them to perform.
Right.
That's how you treat
a
family member of your team.
Yeah. So you look at these people as family members, as a part of an ongoing greater vision, a greater process. You say maybe they draw outside the lines. You treat them like a family, or you bring them back in. Maybe you help them discover the process a little bit better, or parts that they didn't understand of the process. That's where coaching management comes in, right? Mm-hmm. But it's more about the process itself and trying to teach and train the process than it is commanding them to do certain things. I know that I'm not a manager, okay? I just know that because management is exhausting to me. But it's much easier for me if I'm in a management role to teach a process and then allow that person to create within that process. When they break those boundaries, then we can not cane them back into the box, but we can train and teach and hope that they learn. Either they learn, or maybe they help create process improvement for us in a way that we didn't see it. But in the end, the process is designed to help us to accomplish the goals, right? Mm-hmm. Help us to be efficient with our time, help us to serve the customer in the right way. And it's designed to make the company function so that other members of the team know how to play their role as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a dynamic part of this whole thing, right, Bill, that we have to keep in mind. And sometimes individual employees, they play outside the lines, not realizing they're hurting the business or other members of the family, like you're saying, as well. And so it's the kind of the coaching and caring and shepherding. You even suggested just a second ago, I think, that this is a ministry opportunity too, right? Like there may be something going on in that person's personal life.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Where they need to just be loved and, can I dare say, in a business, prayed for, loved on, cared for, embraced. Listen to, all those things. You probably encountered many of those moments when people are kind of breaking some of the boundaries as well.
That's right. And as a mentor, leader, coach, whatever term you want to use, I actually get great joy when I can step into somebody's office or right at the doorway and just look at them and say, did you have a good weekend? Not with the attitude of, I don't really care, but I know I should just ask, and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. No, it's, did you have a good weekend? What did you do? Mm-hmm. Sounds like fun. Mm-hmm. What's going on? Yeah, and knowing their spouse's name and getting to know them better. Yeah, because quite frankly, at the end of the day, if you're looking to have a business where you're going to be there 60 hours a week and be involved in everything that goes on, and you're going to be willing to do this year after year after year until the good Lord calls you home, then you don't need to build a team. Then you can hire slaves, put the chain and the shackles on them, and say, do as I say. And if you get outside the boundaries, I'm just going to jerk on the chain and bring you back. But I don't think that that's what I want to do, especially in looking to build a business that's sustainable for years and years to come. I'm not going to be involved in every little thing that goes on.
Right. Yeah, and this is where sometimes delegation becomes micromanagement, right? Is that fine line right there that we then tip over. There's kind of that tipping point where, and that has ramifications for us personally in relationship with people. It also has ramifications on our culture. It has ramifications on the people we lead and how they interpret who we are. And it actually impacts the kingdom, right, as well.
Yes.
So let's say just for a second that there are people out there trying to build a new culture of trust, like you're talking about, of delegation, of a freedom to operate inside of a process. You've done this for a while. You've done it for years. You've probably seen a number of the benefits. Can you just tell us a few of the benefits of empowering people and what it does for relationships between you and them and customers as well to the business?
Well, I think it starts with me that one of the benefits is the freedom that I have to do other things. And I don't mean just other personal things, fun, playing golf more, anything like that, but the freedom to pause every now and then. To not have to feel like, I got to get this list of things done every day because I've got a good team in place who's taking care of that. Right. I've got a good team in place that when a client calls and says, I want to build a building, or I want to put an addition on our building, we assign the project manager to them. And as far as I know from there, I show up at the groundbreaking, I show up at the ribbon cutting, and the project is completed the Derrick built way. Now, hopefully I show up a little more often than that, but I'm just saying the freedom. I also, I think for the employee, it gives them the opportunity to feel important. Everybody wants to feel important.
We all do, don't we, man?
I mean, that's... and sometimes, we give titles to people. I mean, we have titles at our office too.
Right.
I'm not one of those that says no titles. I'm not one of those that says everybody's title is the same, team member or something like that. No, we all have our titles. We all have our responsibilities. But to me, at the end of the day, I want my team members, that at least the direct reports to me, I want them to be happy about what they're doing. And I think if they're happy with what they're doing, they're going to get more done. They're going to be more efficient. They're going to be willing to put in the extra hours it takes when that's required. And I think it gives me the opportunity to do the things that it takes to make sure this business grows beyond just what I can accomplish.
I love that because there's all these kinds of benefits, right? Like joy, happiness, freedom, creativity, ownership is a little bit of what you're talking about. Trust. Here's a verse for you today. It's from Jeremiah 29, verse 11. It reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." I just think about the time that the Israelites heard those words. They were about to be taken into captivity, and God is drawing a preemptive process, right? He's giving them confidence that, look, I've got some real plans for you. You're not going to like the next steps so much, but you're going to hang on to these words, right? I know the plans. God was a God who had a clear process designed, and he was going to clean some things up, and he was going to create some new outcomes, but it was hope in a future. And Bill, I think we all need to keep in mind that we do have a great God who gives us a lot of freedom, right? He gives us a lot of freedom. We have a freedom to choose him or to not choose him. And that is tremendous freedom when he's offering us the best process ever for salvation, for joy, for happiness, for trust, for all the blessings that you're talking about today. He's offering that to each and every man listening. And it really begins there in that personal relationship. It's like it begins with us trusting first, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And so we step into these situations and we have to trust first. And then you have to trust and I have to trust if I'm your employee. And it's a culture thing again, like you said before. It's building a culture of trust by taking the first step to be trusting or be a trustworthy person. Bill, thank you so much for being with us again.
You're welcome, Vince. My pleasure.
And that's the show. Thanks for listening. As we close today, I want to remind you that we have great content for your men's groups, excellent small group videos, and participant handbooks that will empower the men of your church to lead and equip them to build other men around them. Check it all out at beresolute.org. And guys, as we close, I have to always remind you that I hope that you enjoyed this podcast today. But please know that this time that we spent together is worthless unless you choose to do something with it. That means you got to act on it. You got to act on it in some way. So do something today by getting off the bench and into the game. And I'll see you right back here next time for another edition of the Resolute Leadership Podcast.